Hello. This is a video about transcending the ego. Now, the first thing you have to understand in order to transcend the ego is you cannot transcend the ego. This is a picture of a part of the real, a picture of idea space. All the ideas which are out there, which are not interacting with us right now, but which by our theories of objectivity, our theory of objective reality, do exist and can be interacted with. Here is the mind within the real. Within the mind is the ego, and this blue circle is the consciousness. The ego is in the center of the consciousness. The consciousness consists of all those things immediately available to the ego, those things which are in arm's reach. This line is one a lot of people don't realize exists, not really, but that's another subject. This line is the limit. It is the edge of the consciousness. Beyond it is the unconscious. Now, when I was 13, I learned the Rubik's Cube. It's somewhere in my mind. But I put down the cube for years at a time, and then it's not my conscious mind. It's in my mind, but not my conscious mind. And when I do pick it up, as I have a couple times after years of not solving it, I have some muscle memory that helps me find the path to conscious knowledge of the cube. Now, by following that path, following what memories I can start with, which still reach into my consciousness, I move myself to that part of my mind that knows how to do the Rubik's Cube and restore my conscious knowledge of the cube. But when I put down the cube and I return my conscious mind to its usual work, I leave the cube behind, and it's not in my conscious mind then. However, the path to that knowledge is conscious, because I have a trailhead, and I know that the path is good all the way to the cube. And this is the first way to transcend, to go beyond a limited ego, because I can make that knowledge conscious in the time it takes to pick up the cube. The path, now well remembered, is easily available, and in that way, I expand my consciousness. I am, in a sense, conscious of the cube, even though it is distant from my actual consciousness of the moment. So the first way to transcend the ego is to travel the mind and make sure all of its features are well known to you, and to keep conscious the trailheads of the mind, and make sure you can always get there from here, so to speak. If there is a dark part of your mind, to transcend the ego is to go there and shed light. Now, the second way to transcend the ego regards the limit. Is it a line? Is there really a barrier? If so, you're trapped within. And do you have to be? Or is the consciousness less like a bubble and more like the visibility range within fog, or the visibility within a cave when walking with a candle? As you shed light on the cave, which is your mind, you can see further beyond the limit. You can use brighter lights. Things which are a few steps away, things which are not conscious at any given moment, but that you can make conscious, like my dead grandmother's phone number, which I don't think of but can remember in a moment, those can all be part of the consciousness in a sense. They're just beyond reach only if I do nothing to reach them. Knowing I can travel freely and that I have a map of my mind is the same as peering out of the consciousness into the unconscious, which is making the unconscious conscious. Because what is conscious is readily available to the mind. It's within arm's reach. And if it's just out of arm's reach, but I can move and reach it with a few steps, then it's still in reach. It may be less conscious, you see, but rather than being entirely unconscious, it's merely less. Now, having traveled my mind, having made a map, a model, I can see the landscape of my mind, even the distant parts. And I transcend the ego by looking beyond it, by being aware that there is a beyond, which is still me, and knowing something about the landscape out there. To transcend the ego is to use it well. It's to embrace the ego. Celebrate that you have a center. A lot of evolution and nature has conspired to make it so. So there can be more than one individual in the universe. The ego is your tool within the mind. Embrace this tool, use it, and become yourself. Cheers.